Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. This is my picks and preview video for UFC 291, which takes place tomorrow evening. I could not be more excited. Full disclosure, I'm going to be making a couple of crazy picks on this card. I did on the last pay-per-view, and I got some of those right, but hopefully we can do that again, okay? Before we get into it, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm going to start with the first fight of the night, as per usual, work my way up. I try to get through the earlier fights as quickly as I can so that I can spend a little bit more time talking about the fights that we all want to talk about, okay? So the first fight of the night, which has been shifted around a little bit. It was supposed to be Joanne Wood versus Priscilla Cachoeira, but it is now going to be Miranda Maverick versus Priscilla Cachoeira. And while Miranda Maverick is a massive favorite here, I'm actually going to go with Priscilla Cachoeira. I think she has good enough ground game to not get absolutely ragdolled, manhandled, and submitted by Miranda Maverick. I think that Miranda Maverick is making a relatively quick comeback, considering she just got her ass handed to her for 3 fucking rounds against the Canadian Jasmine Jusudavicius, or however the fuck you say her name, just, what, a month ago? You know what I mean? Like, that's a very quick turnaround, and I think that she's probably just ultra competitive and wants to get one back since she looked so horrible in that one. I think that that fight exposed some holes in her game, and I think that Priscilla Cachoeira has good power on the feet. She's gotten multiple TKOs over the course of her career, and Miranda Maverick, while she looked like an absolute phenom, and while she does show skills, right, obviously, she's a very skilled lady, especially relative to women's MMA. If you go look at her record, the girls that she was able to manhandle just aren't that good. And then as soon as she fights a girl like a Macy Barber, who I don't even think is that good, or you know, this Jasmine Jusudavicius girl who in her last fight before the Miranda Maverick fight didn't look all that special. It just seems like she needs to face a certain level of lady in order to look good. So I'm actually going to go with the massive underdog here, Priscilla Cachoeira, at a plus 260 according to the UFC's website. So we're starting it off with a crazy pick. We're going to move up now the card to Matthew Semelsberger versus Uros Metic. I'm going to be picking Semelsberger here. This dude hits hard as fucking all get out, okay? You know, he could get outclassed for a round, but if he lands one clean on your chin, you might not get KO'd, but you'll probably get dropped. We saw this against Jake Matthews. I don't know if Jake Matthews just has a suspect chin, but you know, Jake Matthews was boxing him up, and then Semelsberger would tag him once, and it would kind of steal the round from him. I thought he also won his last fight against Jeremiah Wells, but you know what I mean? Medic is very good. He's a sizable underdog here. His only loss so far is to Jalen Turner, which is a very difficult guy to deal with. He's long, lanky, and, you know, pretty good striking as well. So it's a tricky guy to fight, especially if your name's not Dan fucking Hooker. But I'm going to stick with Matthew Semelsberger here to get the job done by TKO at some point in this fight. He just needs to land one, and then he can finish it off. Moving up the card, CJ Vergara versus Vinicius Salvador. I'm going to go with the favorite here, CJ Vergara. Vinicius Salvador has some promise on the feet, but not a whole lot of ground game. You know what I mean? He had that amazing performance on the Contender Series in a fight that he was absolutely supposed to lose. Since he's been in the UFC, he has not looked that special, though. CJ Vergara is a very good grappler, unless he's facing off against Tatsuro Taira, which is understandable. Okay, so I think CJ Vergara is going to be able to take Vinicius Salvador down, out-grapple him, and possibly submit him at some point in this matchup. Moving on up the card to Jake Matthews versus Darius Flowers. I had notes written about Jake Matthews' initial opponent, but that is no longer relevant. Okay, Darius Flowers taking the fight on short notice. Guys, he got a 12-5-1 record, if I'm not mistaken. The guys that he's beaten, he's on a bit of a win streak right now, but the guys that he's beaten are not all that. They've got, you know, relatively young, like they're very young in their MMA careers, 4-1, things like this. I don't think that, I mean, I applaud the guy for stepping up on short notice. It is what it is, and hopefully he puts on a good enough performance that the UFC gives him a chance, you know, and gives him a full camp. But I think Jake Matthews is going to get this one done. I think his old opponent, Miguel Beza, was going to be a good way to get Jake Matthews back in the win column, possibly do a quick turnaround for the card in Sydney, but we will see. Short notice opponents sometimes can totally fuck with guys, and we see that, you know, Basil Hafez was able to put up quite a fight against Jack Della Maddalena, so you never know, but I am going to stick with Jake Matthews here. I trust in him to get the job done. He's very skilled on the feet. Moving on up the card to Roman KOPYLOV versus Claudio RIBEIRO. I'm going to go with Roman KOPYLOV. I picked him in his last fight to win. I was a little concerned about the grappling, but he made serious improvements, and you could see the evolution. And I was very glad to see that a guy who has incredible striking doesn't just only stick with that, you know what I mean? Like, eventually you're going to run into a guy that's going to be able to take you down. What are you going to do when you get there? He looked phenomenal in his last fight, like absolutely fucking phenomenal. He is incredible on the feet. I have a feeling that he could potentially get a vicious TKO here. Now, Claudio RIBEIRO is very fucking dangerous. Okay, this is going to be a crazy fight, and honestly, I don't know if it depends on the website, obviously, but right now, Roman KOPYLOV is a minus 220 to Claudio RIBEIRO's plus 180. I don't know that I would feel safe making that bet just because Claudio RIBEIRO is fucking dangerous, man. If he gets him down, could be a serious problem. Like, as I said, I know Roman KOPYLOV's been working, and we've seen the evolution in the grappling, but Claudio RIBEIRO, man, dangerous man. So I'm gonna go with Roman KOPYLOV here to get the job done. Don't know how, but I just think that he will. Okay, moving on up the card, which is they fuck around with the order, so I'm gonna have to move my notes down for just 1 second. Derek Lewis versus Marcos Rogerio. Oh, Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Dude's got fucking 4 last names. Like, hey, dude, get it together. Chop 2 of those off, okay? De Lima is the favorite here. Now, obviously, logic would tell you to pick Marcos Rogerio de Lima as opposed to Derek Lewis, because Derek Lewis has not been looking too good as of late, except for the fact that the man stepped on the fucking scales with a 6-pack, which is something we are not used to seeing. He even tricked us last time. Took a bunch of photos, making himself look a lot thinner than he did. Now, I don't like all of the excuses from him talking about passing out and all this and that. You know, I don't know, man. He kind of attributed it to the weight cut, but I feel sometimes a lot of the stuff that he's been dealing with is mental. You know what I mean? And he looks good, man, though. So here's my problem. Marcos Rogerio de Lima, okay, in his last fight against Salsa Boy, that fucking boxer dude, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I think Costa's at least one half of his name. He looked good, but in the 3rd round, he was getting tagged on the feet, and I think there were a few iffy moments where maybe he didn't almost get finished, but he definitely got hurt. And we saw Derek Lewis absolutely fucking starch Curtis Blaydes, being very patient, waiting for him to shoot in and just uppercutting the living fuck out of him. Now, Marcos Rogerio de Lima throws a little bit more leg kicks than Curtis Blaydes would, so that could potentially be an issue for Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis is absolutely susceptible to body kicks, like badly. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like, fuck, man, every time Derek Lewis fights, I feel like, oh, this is one that he could win. You know what I mean? And then it just doesn't happen. But Marcos Rogerio de Lima, I understand that they're at heavyweight. The dude's 38 years old. Like, he's not a young buck. You know what I mean? He may be looking good as of late, but he's not young. And he's not young in his career. And while he looks good against some of these other guys, I just don't know. I don't feel... If he showed a little bit more finishing ability against his last opponent, I think I would feel a lot safer in picking him. But Derek Lewis losing to, like, Sergey Spivak, you know, who's just a fucking animal of a grappler, is one thing. Him losing to Pavlovich, who is a fucking savage also with crazy KO power, who's a lot more technical than Derek Lewis, is another. I'm having issues here. I might be fucking picking Derek Lewis, man. I'm having troubles deciding. I don't know. I just don't know that I trust Marcos Rogerio de Lima, dude, that much. He looked really good for the first 2 rounds against his last opponent, who, by the way, I think maybe only had 1 or 2 fights in the UFC. It may have even been his fucking debut. You know what I mean? He was a boxer, so he was not used to any of the grappling. He's not used to any of the leg kicks. It's not something that he's used to. Whereas Derek Lewis has been around for a while. He's fought basically every single type of opponent. And he looks like he's in a lot better shape. Fuck it, dude. I'm going with Derek Lewis. All he needs to do is touch him once over the course of 3 rounds, and I don't think that Rogerio de Lima is going to get him out of there in 1. So I'm gonna go with Derek Lewis to get a KO here over Marcos Rogerio de Lima. It's a crazy pick. I know there's not a whole lot of logic behind it, but fuck it, dude. We're doing it. Moving on up the card to Gabriel Bonfim versus Trevin Giles. The UFC must have this wrong. It says Trevin Giles is a -315. That can't be correct. They have to. It has to be switched up. So I'm going to be going with the huge favorite here, Gabriel Bonfim. I do not trust Trevin Giles. He's good on occasion. He is not great though. I thought he lost to James Krause back in Houston. And that was on very short notice. Also, I think James Krause took that fight on a day's notice. He's very on and off in his career. I just don't trust him to get this done. And while the other Bonfim brother kind of got exposed in his last fight against the that French dude Saint Denis or something like that, I think that at middleweight, or pardon me, at welterweight, towards the end or towards the bottom of the rankings here, they're not as skilled as the guys are at the lower weight classes. So I'm gonna go with Gabriel Bonfim here to possibly hurt Trevin Giles on the feet and then get a submission, because we saw James Krause was able to take Trevin Giles' back and basically keep him there for an entire fucking round. You know what I mean? So I have a feeling that if Gabriel Bonfim gets to that position, he's going to finish that shit off, because he's a lot bigger than James Krause and seems to have better jiu-jitsu. Not to shit on James Krause, although he may very well be a fucking criminal, so it's okay. Moving on up the card, Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. This is a tricky one, man, because Kevin Holland fighting any grappler is a little sus. You know what I mean? Like Santiago Ponzinibbio is not a grappler. The dude wanted to strike with him, and Kevin Holland ended up catching him and finish him off. But every single fucking time Kevin Holland fights a grappler, he loses. Now the only thing is that Michael Chiesa is not as big as it's not as big as fucking what's his face, Jesus Christ, dude, Derek Brunson or Marvin Vettori. To be fair, he did get that KO from the bottom on Jacare Souza, but that is an old Jacare Souza. I just, you know, and then Khamzat Chimaev does what he does. Kevin Holland, they talk about his jiu-jitsu quite a lot. Like every single time he's been on the Joe Rogan Experience with his fucking jiu-jitsu coach, they talk about how good he is at jiu-jitsu, and then we never really get to see it. Do you know what I mean? Now, the problem is Michael Chiesa, not necessarily a finisher, but he is a big fucking boy. He's also a little inactive, and he's not very good at striking. So there's a lot of things to think about here. But I mean, hopefully Kevin Holland's been working on his takedown defense. I don't know, man. It's an iffy one for me, dude. It's hard to pick Kevin Holland against a guy who's gonna want to grapple you. Do you know what I mean? Like we've read that book before. Every single fucking time it ends the same, essentially. They stay on top of you, and you can't get up, and that's that. Fuck it, dude. I'm gonna pick Kevin Holland. He's a favorite here too, which is crazy to me. Like I don't know that I would bet on that. Do you know what I mean? I will be picking him to win just for the sake of a pick, but I don't know that I would put money on Kevin Holland at -145. Now, he's not a massive favorite by any stretch of the imagination, but again, we've seen what happens when he fights grapplers. And while Khamzat Chimaev is a big welterweight, so is Michael Chiesa, man. Like, I don't understand how Michael Chiesa ever made 155, because when he moved up to 170, I went, oh, he's a big welterweight, and he was cutting down to 155. You know what I mean? So it's an iffy one. I don't know that I would throw money on it, but I will pick Kevin Holland to get the job done. You know what? Actually, hold on a second, dude. I'm having second thoughts. The problem for me is that Michael Chiesa has been so inactive that I don't like that. Especially, it seems like when guys get desk jobs, they get really fucking complacent, and they get good paychecks from doing that shit, so they don't necessarily focus on fighting so much. And I know that he's been scheduled for a few fights, but if I'm not mistaken, he's been the one that's been pulling out of him. And if we look at his last few fights, he lost to Sean Brady on the ground, obviously, because that's what Sean Brady does. He lost to Vicente Luque, who Darce choked him, probably hurt him on the feet first. I don't really remember that fight. That was a while ago. UFC 265, Derek Lewis for Cyril Gahn. He beat Neil Magny, who is a very slim, slender, lean individual for 170. You know what I mean? He's tall, but he's very skinny. Rafael dos Anjos, obviously a lot bigger than him. Diego Sanchez, Carlos Condit. I mean, bro, really, dude? And then Anthony Pettis, I remember him triangling him. Kevin Lee choked him out, although that was a weird stoppage by the ref. See, he's very inactive. Now I'm getting into like years and years ago. Fuck it, dude. I'm going with Kevin Holland. The inactivity, the fact that he's not even a finisher when he is the one winning the exchanges in the grappling, the fact that he's been out-grappled multiple times in his last few fights, which are few and far between, I will be going with Kevin Holland to get a TKO over Michael Chiesa on the feet, because I don't trust Michael Chiesa's striking even a little bit. Moving on up the card, Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. Here we get to another fucking crazy... There is no logical explanation for what I am about to do, but I am going to pick Tony Ferguson. And I don't even know that I want to try and... I know it's fucking crazy. You guys can roast me all you want. I don't even know that I should try and like defend this pick to you, because I don't know that I can, but Tony Ferguson almost finished Michael Chandler in that first round. Okay? Like he knocked him down, almost finished him. Chandler was able to tough it out and stick it out, and that shot that he landed would have, like, that doesn't show me that Tony Ferguson's chin is gone. Do you know what I mean? And then him fighting against Justin Gaethje, clearly his chin was still there. Now, he did look like shit against Nate Diaz. He looked like absolute garbage. I mean, they both did, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? They both looked like shit. The problem for me is I don't think Bobby Green packs the same kind of power that a Michael Chandler or a Justin Gaethje does. And again, like that fucking soccer kick to the face would put anybody out. And he almost finished Chandler in that fight. He had a lot of success against Justin Gaethje. He dropped him with a huge uppercut, okay? And then we have Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush, who just basically out-grappled him. Do you know what I mean? And while Tony Ferguson has pretty decent grappling, those guys are on a whole nother level. I mean, we're talking about ADCC champions and fucking, you know what I mean? Like, that is just, they're different. They're just different, okay? And there's one more loss in there. No, it's the Nate Diaz one, right? Oh, am I missing somebody, dude? Hold on. One sec, dude. I want to check this out. Yeah, Nate, Chandler, Beneil, Charles, Justin. Okay. He did not look too great against Nate Diaz. I'm not worried about him getting guillotined by Bobby Green. Okay. He looked good against Michael Chandler, but that KO was horrible. Now, that KO may have changed his life. We don't know. If he gets touched, you know what I mean? We may see him get fucked up. Charles Oliveira, Beneil Dariush just grapple fucked him. You know what I mean? Justin Gaethje, that was a brutal fight. Absolutely. But he dropped Justin Gaethje. There were rounds that he won in that fight, okay? And it was just that in the latter part of it, he took a ton of damage, and it was a fine stoppage. But I don't know why I'm doing this, but I am doing it. I don't give a fuck what any of you say. I understand that Bobby Green should win, right? But against Jared Gordon, he did not look all that good. Okay, he landed a few good shots, but he was also getting landed on. And he had to use his head to get the job done. Okay, Drew Dober starched the motherfucker. Islam Makhachev fucked him up on the ground, obviously. Nasrat Haqparast has trouble winning in the UFC. Okay, Ali Quinta was being a fucking real estate agent. And I don't know why I can't logically give... there's no logical explanation. I am going to pick fucking Tony Ferguson, though, dude. I've got hope. Okay, I've got hope. He looks like he's in much better shape. I don't think he ever should have tried to move to 170. Dude's long as fuck. His hands are like this big. You know what I mean? And Bobby Green, while he is an awkward striker, Tony's long, man. I don't know that he'll be able to get inside with his boxing. It's not like he utilizes a whole lot of kicks. You know what I mean? He relies solely on his hands coming from weird angles because they're always down low. Tony Ferguson's kind of the same, except he does use kicks. He does have... I would be confident in saying that Tony Ferguson's better on the ground than Bobby Green despite his age. You know what I mean? Like, Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush will out-grapple fucking anybody. So, it is what it is, dude. I'm picking Tony Ferguson. You know what I mean? And the risk is worth it, because if I'm right, I look like a fucking genius, okay? So, it is what it is. Next fight, Stephen Thompson versus Michel Pereira. By the way, full disclosure, this fight may not happen because Michel Pereira's a fucking bitch, worm motherfucker who missed weight by 3 fucking pounds. So, I was going to pick Stephen Wonderboy Thompson before, but I'm definitely picking that motherfucker now. He is going to outclass him by a country mile because Michel Pereira is... he's fun to watch. A little overrated, I think. I mean, he's not even overrated. I just think... He's fun to watch. That's all it is. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's going to outclass the fuck out of him on the feet. I think that if Stephen Wonderboy Thompson will be able to stay away from any grappling, I think Michel Pereira is going to be shooting like fucking immediately, because Wonderboy's just too good. Wonderboy's very good at getting away, though, from clinches, using lateral movement. He'll back up against the fence and then skirt out, and then all of a sudden you're up against the fence and he's fucking attacking you with shit. I just think Wonderboy's too good for him, man. Way too good. I don't care how old he is. Michel Pereira is not gonna, hopefully, not gonna beat up Wonderboy. And, I mean, again, it might not happen. He missed weight by 3 pounds. He is going to have to give Wonderboy a sizable chunk of his purse, and Wonderboy would still have to say yes to that anyways, so we don't know. Apparently, they're negotiating it as I am recording this video right now. Moving on up to the co-main event, which is my fucking favorite fight of the night. Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. Jan Blachowicz sitting at a -120. Alex Pereira -110. Essentially a fucking pick'ems fight, okay? These are two of my favorite fighters, and I'm excited to see them fight, because I think that if there's anybody at light heavyweight who can give Alex Pereira troubles on the feet, or even hang with him on the feet, it's Jan Blachowicz. I love Jan Blachowicz, man. And also, Cowboy Blachowicz may be a new mythical fighter, okay? The dude shows up in a fucking real nice cowboy hat with some cowboy boots, some blue jeans, and a big old belt buckle, okay? I am in a very rural area in British Columbia. People dress like that all the time. I've got a cowboy hat I wear around. It's Navajo style, not like the one he had on, but it is what it is, dude. Not to mention, in the weigh-in show, when they asked him who his hero was, okay, he said The Witcher. And then Dean Thompson asks him why, and he says, you know, you're gonna have to read the books, you know. In America, you guys have all sorts of superheroes. In Poland, we have The Witcher. So you're gonna have to read the books, you know. He's just the best fighter. The Witcher's my fucking favorite game of all time, always has been. If you go back and watch some of my older videos, I've got Witcher fucking figurines all up in my shelves. I don't have them here now, but they're in a glass showcase in another room. That's how much I care for them. And he walked out to the Skyrim theme song last time, which was absolutely epic. You know, some guys have tried to walk out to the Game of Thrones one. Not necessarily, it didn't necessarily go as well. I feel like there's not a good enough, like, audio version of that song. There was always a little quiet. Volkan Ozdemir did it. I remember it was super quiet on the speakers, and I thought, what the fuck, dude? When he walked out to Skyrim, that shit was bumping, okay? So I'm hoping he sticks to that, or picks another sweet fucking theme song from a video game. He is the best striker in the light heavyweight division, aside from Alex Pereira right now. And I'm comfortable saying that. The dude is incredible. He outstruck Israel Adesanya. He leg kicked him. He checked all of Israel Adesanya's leg kicks. He landed shots on the feet with his hands. And then he decides he's going to out-grapple him for the last two rounds in case the first few were close enough. I thought he won at least 4-1 against Israel Adesanya. He won 3 rounds against Magomed Ankalaev. Had he not gassed in that 5th round and let Ankalaev get a 10-8 on him, he would have won that fight. In my opinion, I gave him 1, 2, and 3. Alex Pereira making his debut at light heavyweight. I think this is where he belongs, okay? A lot of people won't shut up. Like, how did the motherfucker make 185? He's way too big for 185. Shut up. So are a lot of them. Marvin Vettori weighs just as much as this guy. Paulo Costa weighs just as much as this guy. People are just upset that he beat Izzy, and that's the thing that they go to. He's too big. He looked phenomenal at the weigh-ins. He did not look sucked in even a little bit. I don't think and you know, I can understand people being concerned about that knockout. Okay, absolutely, I can. It's good. There's good reason to. That was a bad KO. He was absolutely starched in the second MMA fight against Israel Adesanya. But if we look at, I believe that was his, like, I can't remember him getting knocked out ever in his kickboxing career. And I'm just gonna go look through this just to make sure. Okay, we get one in 2016. TKO, round number 2. Kunlun fights against Artur Kishinenko. I don't see any others. Okay, decision loss. Yeah, so that's it. Jason Wilness retirement, which means I think his corner threw in the towel. Also, keep in mind in kickboxing, there's different rules. So that TKO was not in glory, but in glory, if it's a non-championship fight, I believe if it's more than 2 knockdowns in a round, they call it. And if there's more than 3 in an entire fight, they'll call it. And I think with the championship fight, it's just one extra, if I'm not mistaken. So if you get knocked down 3 times in a round, they call it. If you get knocked down 4 or 5 times, I can't remember exactly. But they do shit like that. Okay, kickboxing's not as savage as mixed martial arts. They call fights easier. They'll call fights off for cuts a lot easier. So the last TKO is 7 years ago, okay, in kickboxing. And again, I don't think it was a starching. I can't remember that fight exactly, but this is his only real bad KO that's ever happened. And while it could be life-changing, considering he's in his later 30s, I just don't think it's going to be, man. I think he'll be fine. And, you know, he did very well at light heavyweight against massive light heavyweight kickboxers. Artem Vakhitov is one of the best kickboxers on the face of the fucking planet, okay? And he had weird fights with him. Like, he won one and lost one, but they should have been reversed. He should have won the second fight and lost the first fight. But regardless, dude, you know, he KO'd Thomas Powell. He KO'd a couple of guys, at least, at light heavyweight. And he knocked out basically everybody at middleweight. So I'm not overly concerned for him. Now, Jan Blachowicz does have absolutely crazy power, and I understand that. And, but, you know, Alex Pereira's already thinking about how he's going to do it. So he said every time Blachowicz has been knocked out, it's been with a left cross or whatever, and every time I knock somebody else with a left cross, there might have been a little issue in translation there. Jan Blachowicz absolutely gets hit with a ton of left hooks, okay? A ton of them. Now, you could, I guess, I don't know, maybe the translator fucked up, maybe Pereira was just using a different word, but he knows that he's open on that side for his left hand to land, and I believe that he's going to be able to find it. It sucks, man. I don't want to see either one of them lose. I really like both of them. I would love to see Alex Pereira become the champion at 205 and fight Israel Adesanya not depleted from a weight cut, right? Because that I truly believe that at 185, his chin is a little off, okay? Because he has fought guys that hit fucking way harder than Israel Adesanya in kickboxing at middleweight and at 205. I just think that depleting yourself that much, and while he absolutely looked fully rehydrated the following day, there's no way that doesn't take a toll on your body. You know what I mean? I think he's going to be able to take a shot better at light heavyweight. He didn't have to gain or lose any weight for this. He's just going in as is, and I think he's going to get the job done, man. I think he's going to get a relatively quick KO over Jan Blachowicz, which is unfortunate because I would love to see how everything plays out between them. Now, obviously, Jan Blachowicz could decide, I'm taking this shit to the mat. Glover Teixeira is a good training partner for that. He fucking manhandled and strangled Jan Blachowicz relatively easily. So, I don't know, man. I just think Pereira's going to be able to get it done, and then he'll be fighting for... I think he'll become the light heavyweight champion. You know, because I think this is his hardest fight. I think that Jan Blachowicz is the toughest challenge on the feet. I mean, obviously, if they gave him a guy like Magomed Ankalaev, he could probably wrestle. Fuck him, but we don't know what's going on with him. I think he would start Jiri Prochazka. I think he would start Jamal Hill. So, I think Alex Pereira is going to get this one done. I think it's going to be a relatively quick KO, maybe late first round, right? Like 3.5 minutes in or something along those lines. He'll find that left hook. He'll put him down, and that'll be that. I think they'll leg kick each other, feel each other out for a minute. It'll probably be a little slow for like a minute. I don't think Blachowicz is going to shoot right away like a lot of people think he's going to. I think he's going to try and throw some leg kicks and body kicks and shit like that. Guy's got an incredible switch kick, incredible leg kicks no matter which way he's throwing them. He doesn't have to throw inside leg kicks this time because Alex Pereira is not a southpaw. So, super interesting. Dude, I can't wait. I could talk about this fight forever. I'm unbelievably excited for this fight. I can't wait for the co-main event. I've seen some people saying that I wish it was 5 rounds. I don't think we fucking need 5 rounds. I don't think it's going to go the distance either way. But I do think that Alex Pereira is going to get the job done. Now we are moving up to the main event between Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. I am picking Dustin Poirier. I said this in my video about Justin Gaethje's improved defense. And while he has improved his defense, I just think that Dustin Poirier's boxing is too clean, too crisp. And he hits hard, man. You know what I mean? Justin Gaethje had a lot of success with those leg kicks in that first fight, but he doesn't throw leg kicks in the same way, or at least the same amount, as he used to. He's a lot more cautious with them, uses them a lot less frequently, and the reason why they were so effective is because he just constantly was doing it and eating shots to do it. I don't think that his chin can take the same kind of punishment it could when he was in his third fight in the UFC, right? Like, Charles Oliveira put Gaethje down. We haven't really ever seen that before. Michael Chandler almost had him out. I'm not saying that his chin is gone by any stretch, but I'm saying that when he came into the UFC, I think it was a lot more fresh. Okay, Dustin Poirier is tough as fucking nails, and he's just an incredible boxer, man. He's so good with boxing. He's gotten better with leg kicks also because of those fights with Conor. And I know that Justin Gaethje is not a southpaw, but it's still relevant because it's not just the fact that he practiced that outside calf kick. It was that he practiced checking kicks as well. And we saw him check, who was it against, dude? He checked a really good kick against Michael Chandler, and it hurt Chandler. You could tell Poirier kind of did one of these at him. He can check kicks now, man. He just can. And he throws a lot more uppercuts than a guy like Rafael Fiziev. And Michael Chandler tagged Justin Gaethje with multiple uppercuts. Michael Chandler's uppercuts, like, you could see them from fucking the next town over. You know what I mean? That you can see them coming from forever ago. So if Chandler's landing big uppercuts on you like that, I think Poirier could also. I understand that the elevation may be on some people's minds because Poirier didn't show up until about, Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon. I can't remember exactly. The only... Dustin Poirier's got a ton of fucking money, okay, from those Conor McGregor fights. I would imagine that dude's got one of those fucking tents. I don't know what they're called exactly, but they allow you to sleep, and it simulates elevation, essentially. You know what I mean? I just think he's, like, been there, done that, not gonna... He'll get tired, but it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm going with Dustin Poirier, man. I don't know how... Obviously, Justin Gaethje can win this fight. I just don't think Gaethje's gonna fucking, like, starch him. You know what I mean? And, yeah. I just think Poirier's gonna win. It's crazy. I could talk about the co-main event for so long. Compared to this one, apparently. Because I can't really think of any more points. I've talked about a lot of the points that in other videos. So perhaps my brain's just like, fucking don't talk about that because you've already talked about that. But Justin Gaethje's improved defense absolutely worked a lot against Rafael Fiziev. Rafael Fiziev throws a lot of hard shots, though. Every single thing he throws, he's putting everything into it. Dustin Poirier does not do that. He'll follow your head. He'll wait. Justin Gaethje always rolling under shots the way that he does is right there for an uppercut and knee, something like that. And again, I think Poirier is going to be able to check some of his kicks and perhaps, make Justin Gaethje not want to go back to it as much because he already doesn't use them as much. And again, in the boxing realm, I think Poirier is much better. Justin Gaethje has gotten a lot more technical, but the way that he throws shots sometimes, I'm like, bro, are you pitching a baseball or what's going on? Do you know what I mean? Like he'll literally punch with this part of his hand. Sometimes it's strange. He also eye pokes a little bit, you know what I mean? Because I've watched so much slowed down footage on him. I've seen him eye poke Fiziev, although I've seen him get eye poked by guys also. So it is what it is. But he does kind of paw out with the left hand and then come over top with the big right. I just think Poirier gets it done, man. And the elevation, for me, I would only really be concerned about it in the 4th and 5th round, and I don't know that it's gonna get there, man. I don't know that it will. I think that, like, put it this way, if Dustin Poirier had Justin Gaethje in the position that he had him in the first round of their fight, where Gaethje was almost out on his feet, wobbly as fucking all get out up against the fence, swinging crazy shots back, if Poirier has Justin Gaethje like that, he's out of there. You know what I mean? So, also, I mean, Poirier could potentially, if he ever stuns Gaethje on the feet, I think that if he were to take Justin Gaethje down, I think he would have no problem submitting him. Justin Gaethje always talks about his fucking wrestling and how good it is and how he never uses it. Khabib was able to take him down with basically zero resistance and was able to pass his guard with zero resistance and submit him with zero resistance, okay? Whereas Dustin Poirier took quite a while to get submitted by Khabib, was constantly trying to get back up, definitely gave Khabib a bit of resistance. Now, Khabib was obviously able to be successful, take him down consistently, and eventually finish that fight, but Poirier put up a good fight and made him at the very least work for it. Whereas Justin Gaethje, while he may have hurt his kicks, or hurt Khabib with his kicks, pardon me, whenever Khabib shot, it was like Gaethje didn't exist and he was using a fucking grappling dummy. Do you know what I mean? So we also saw what Poirier, Michael Chandler hurts Charles Oliveira, goes to the ground with him, ends up getting his back taken, and is fought off the choke against Charles Oliveira, right? Dustin Poirier submitted him like as soon as they hit the mat, took his back very quickly, locked in the choke, done deal. So Dustin Poirier's got underrated jiu-jitsu. His wrestling defense might not be the best, but his jiu-jitsu is pretty good. So if Gaethje's hurt enough, and maybe Poirier isn't able to get him down, then, or maybe Poirier, yeah, maybe if Poirier is not able to knock him out, he might take him down and submit him. Also, I wish Poirier would mix it up to the body a little bit more. He is a bit of a headhunter. Justin Gaethje's open to the body. So, yeah. That's it, man. Dustin Poirier to win by late round 2 TKO. I mean, this fight's going to be fucking right from the bell. You know what I mean? We're not having a feeling out process. It's going to be insane. I can't wait. So anyways, dude, let me know what you guys think about my retarded picks for earlier on in the card. Fucking Tony Ferguson against Bobby Green, Priscilla Cachoeira against Miranda Maverick, and whatever else you want to talk about in the comments, dude. Like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.